call the hospital or the ambulance immediately. They decided to hide their drugs and stuff like that. And
I don't know if they ever did call. Dustin, your brother, Dustin, come to pick you up for work. And they said, "Oh, he's not here." I mean, they didn't even tell Dustin, and he's like, "What? How's his truck's right here? This something's not right." Yeah. And then, oh well, yeah, he's here, and so I don't know. I feel like Dustin called the ambulance, but I'm not for 100%. But if he hadn't stopped there to pick you up for work, I
would be.
Who knows how
dead.
long they would be have waited? Would they have even called? I really think you would.
And
these were your friends.
It was my ex-wife also, and I was still married to her at the time. But and she, one of the real big backstabbing things that she did to me,
one of many,
was when I overdosed. She took my freaking card,
went straight to the bank.
Wow. Yeah, and luckily. I guess
she didn't get there quick enough, because as soon as I found out that you were at the hospital, which I was at the hospital, then I called the bank and I froze your account.
Yeah.
Wow.
And checked back later.
So you already knew that something like that
I already knew something like that could happen easy.
Geez.
Yeah.
And the thing that was interesting is I went back to the bank, a few days later just to see, if everything was still good and whatnot. And they could look on his account and see how many times her and his friends tried to hit that bank from different places, gas stations.
Who does that, man?
Evil people.
Yeah.
And then they come to the hospital to visit him like, "Oh, Shane, we're so sad." And that was another thing we did. We never let him in.
Shitty people. And that's the type of people that I have cut out of my life.
Yeah, for sure, 100%.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was the hardest thing that I ever had to go through.
Right. Yeah. I believe that was your low point.
Can I maybe dig into that a little bit with you? Not only you got everybody hearing this, you're hearing that the actual overdose itself was the hard thing.
Oh no.
But I would say the days leading to it, what he was feeling, what got him to actually take that much to do the drugs with those people, that would be the hardest.
I spent a couple nights in jail and for the drunk tank or whatever.
Your truck got impounded.
My truck got impounded.
So
and
everything was spiraling.
I was on my
way
to...
So that's what I wanted to...
Yeah, I was on my way to... now we're
So now,
good.
Thinking about it, really that overdose was also a blessing.
Yeah.
The way it turned out. Didn't seem like it at the time.
Of course.
But it's quite an eye-opener.
Yeah.
And he used it to get away from those kind of people.
Remove some of those things out of your life.
At first, I don't know if that would have necessarily happened without some help. We just limited who he could.
Yeah.
But he had to move back home. That was my low point. I did not want him coming back home.
Yeah.
We had just... This is another thing that kind of led up to it. We had to kick him out of here.
Yeah.
He was so bad. He was stealing from us. He was a drug addict. I mean,
get this drug
that was running his life. Yeah. And so it was a progression. And then when they, obviously had to move back home.
Yeah.
That was something I did not want. But even though we, kind of limited and tried to just pick and choose who he could.
It was up to me.
It's still up to Shane.
Yeah.
Ultimately, he could have said, heck with you, or I'm doing whatever I want, and as soon as he was able to get on his feet, get going. But that was when you turned your life around.
I think so. And this, that experience made my brain injury experience so much easier because I already knew that mindset and
you were already making the shift.
Yeah.
And then I think that a lot of the reason why you wanted to help that girl and when you did get your brain injury was because you thought, I got away from it. She can get away from it. I'm going to help her. She's going to, her mom wanted her to be better. You wanted her to be better. And that kind of led to that. And because just to say, you went and helped this girl, it doesn't really tell the whole story because you've got the reason.
Yeah.
I did it. I'm better off. I'm, this much farther along in life. I'm going to help her. I want to help her.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And that's something that I still have a really hard time talking about. That in particular, my brain injury is way easier for me to talk about, but that whole situation and that backstabbing feeling, and
you learned a lot,
and I really learned what people are capable of.
Yeah, sure.
In the worst ways.
Yeah. So two things: forgiveness, right, of those people,
right,
even if you never see them again.
Right.
You can picture them right in the room and say, "Guess what? I forgive you because of what happened. I am a different person now, and I'm not in prison or dead."
Yep.
And then the second thing is forgiving yourself for the actions that you took that led you there.
Yeah.
And that's huge.
Yeah.
Right.
And those have helped me a ton to get through experiences like that.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So we'll ask John that question, and I kind of got a follow up one.
Okay. So, you guys, I've had a lot of challenges, and some of the hardest, I can't narrow down the hardest one, but I would say the hardest time period was actually the same time period as my change, right? It's always that part leading up to it, right? Because I've died before. I've had alcohol poisoning to the point of almost dying as well. I had a ringing in my head for 2 years because of an experience that was just so traumatic, and we're not even going to go into that one. But leading up to all of this stuff, my destructive behaviors, all the way till about age 19, I was fighting every day. I was doing drugs. I was not sleeping more than 4 hours a night. I was afraid to go to sleep because I thought that I was going to be possessed, because I was actually having sleep paralysis and stuff. Yeah, hallucinating, all that kind of stuff. So then I thought, well, then I shouldn't sleep because sleep.
That's logical.
Sleep is so important.
Yeah, and I'd hallucinate during the daytime at work, and living off of caffeine. Just trying to get by. But all of that, that time period, was also when I was kindling a relationship with my wife, and she decided, I don't know why, she decided to be my girlfriend. How crazy I was, but something drew her to me to help me. She heard a voice that said, give that kid a chance. Go back and talk to him, help him out. And that little spark, through my darkest moments in my life, also came the light. And that, I would say, was the biggest challenge, was overcoming when I finally decided to make the change. And I'm like, okay, who do I actually really want to become? And I want to be with this person who just texted me right now. And I want to be with this person. So who do I need to become? Because I can't be the person that I am right now. It's not going to work.
That's right.
Yeah.
So the changes that I had to make.
Yeah, you found a way to make yourself into that person. Yes.
And it was when I made that change that the hard stuff actually truly came.
Yeah.
And that's overcoming everything.
Right.
Never drinking again, never looking at porn again, never smoking weed again. We've had edibles since then, but you know what I mean?
Right.
As a recreational
complete turnaround.
I totally changed everything. Stopped fighting for pleasure. It was fighting for pleasure. I'm not saying fighting for,
workout or whatever.
Workout, or I still think that's a great thing that you can do.
Yeah.
But fighting for pleasure, self-inflicting pain, sticking needles in my lips and stuff like that. I had to overcome, and those were addictions, you guys. I had to overcome all of that stuff because I finally decided I want to become a different person.
Yeah.
So the choice to change was easier by far than the actual work. That's right.
The actual work.
So sticking with it is...
Oh, man. Sticking with it.
Hard.
So let me ask you this real quick, both of you. People, recovering alcoholics or drug addicts or whatever, it's a daily thing, even now, would you say? Or are you far enough along that there's
think
no...
Me personally, I'm far enough along now that I rarely think about that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But there is times, and how I deal with that is just, like I said, the hardest thing to do is something that you don't want to do. Mm-hmm. And so I just think about how much better off I would be if I don't do that.
Right.
Yeah.
Why go back?
Yeah.
Backward.
For sure. Mm-hmm. And I would agree with that for sure. For myself, I feel like I've it's more of a chemical response that goes into my head. I never think about drinking, or I don't think about all that kind of stuff because I'm beyond that. Mm-hmm. But I wouldn't put myself into a situation where I had to be tempted, meaning like I wouldn't go hang out at a bar.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because I would smell the alcohol, and the alcohol would trigger a response in my limbic system, which would release memories.
Do you think you could go to a bar now?
I could.
Okay.
Because I'm strong enough.
But you're still like, why would I?
Why would I? Why wouldn't I?
There's no point.
Right. Yeah, there's no point. But I have had a friend that was, he makes concoctions and beard oils and stuff like that, and he would use Bacardi rum. And that was the alcohol that I ended up having alcohol poisoning from. Mm-hmm. Bacardi rum 151. 75% alcohol. It's like so strong. Mm-hmm. And he uses it in his mixtures and things like that for facial stuff and, you know, for men's grooming products. And he had some out one time, and just smelling the bottle would bring back those memories. But at the same time, I'm not tempted to be like, well, I should drink some. Yeah. That doesn't happen to me because That's where I'm at, I've come so far. But the smell still brings back the memories, and then I just need to process it and be like, that's not me. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
That was something was.
Yeah.
Well, and along that, I was going to say, after Shane's overdose, and he, was progressing and doing a lot of things, and we wanted him to go to some therapy, and he did. He had a really good life coach or whatever you want to call her. And that's what she told him is, Shane, you can never take pain pills.
Yeah.
You will go right back. And then he has his brain injury. Yeah. And, he's in the hospital and I'm a lot of pain pills and getting it right, you know, and I worried a little bit about that. But, even since then, the first thing he wants to do as soon as he's had some surgeries on his hand and he's had some other surgeries, but the very second he's home from the hospital and not having to take him, he's done with it. He's, so maybe you realize that too. You don't want to stay on them any longer than you really have to because, you just don't know. Yeah. It's just too easy to say, oh, my arm does still hurt a little bit. Yeah. Maybe I need a little bit today, But it hasn't been. So if you
fall down that trap, it's extremely hard to get out of it.
And you already know how hard it was.
Yeah.
You did it once and you don't want to do it again.
And I feel like that is a larger pandemic than we've seen than any virus is.
Well,
the
and
pandemic
it's growing.
With
the virus,
painkillers and people getting stuff from their doctors, and that is like, and that's destroying people's lives.
It is, yeah. Well, and you talked about the marijuana. That's way better than the
Sure, that's why. Yeah,
the opioids.
Now, I don't think smoking anything is a good idea.
I don't either
because I don't think it's good for your lungs. And I want to have healthy, strong lungs for exercise.
You're going to need them,
right? But if you're going to use something that comes from nature, that's not chemically altered, and you use it in a therapeutic, way, a medicinal way, that's great.
Yeah.
Something that's non-addictive, because I don't feel like THC and CBD are at the level of addiction that any of the opioids are.
Right.
Not even close.
Yeah.
And they have some benefits for some people.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And they might not be as strong.
Right.
Right. But the benefits are good enough that I feel like people can still deal with their natural, it can enhance their natural. It does work
with your natural hormones and
ways that you can still deal with inflammation and anxiety and pain. Mm-hmm. So anyways.
Okay, well that's awesome. So the last question then is going to be the opposite. What do you consider to be your greatest success, and what personal traits contributed to it?
So for me, my